Hi, I'm Hadwin, and this year I'll be playing in my 12th RBC Canadian Open.
12 RBC Canadian Opens, well, 11 played. Does it feel like you've played that many, or how fast is time going here, Adam?
I can't describe it. I didn't think I was that old. You know, it seems like yesterday I was teeing it up at St. George's, Shaughnessy the following year, and now to say this is going to be 12.
When you think about, I think a lot of people when they think about you and the RBC Canadian Open, they immediately focus on Shaughnessy because you obviously had such a tremendous week.
Yeah.
Nearly won the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But your first one was at St. George's in 2010. Reflect on that. How nervous were you, or how wide-eyed were you when you played that event?
Very wide-eyed. I can remember taking the shuttle over to Islington, walking onto the range, and Couples is there hitting balls. He's got a box of new clubs beside him that he's going to be working on. As I'm sure you remember, I was in the media every time I could get, telling you that I was just a Canadian Tour player and all of that. And so I remember standing on that range looking at that, thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But I had a great caddy, club champ, Craig Sinclair, guided me around. And it really started out as a week with, you know, just no pressure. Earned my way in there through the Canadian Tour, first PGA Tour event, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of support. Obviously, I played well, which helps. It was in a good spot going into the weekend, and my first low Canadian honors.
So you're one of the veterans Canadians out on the PGA Tour now. As we said, you're going to be playing in your 12th RBC Canadian Open. How have you learned to handle the extra commitments that come with playing in Canada?
I think this being my 12th and also my 9th year on tour now, just nothing really surprises me anymore. I think early on, you can get caught off guard a little bit of how much energy it can take from you. And now I just know what's coming. I know how much energy it takes, and I know, you know, having played well in other situations at other big events as well helps kind of prepare you for that a little bit. But yeah, just time management, learning, that's the biggest thing. Just being in that environment and scenario that is the Canadian Open, because it is different for us from a normal week.
Am I right in assuming that you know next to nothing about Oakdale Golf and Country Club as we sit here today?
I know zero, yes.
What goes into learning a golf course then when you get on site?
You kind of start with I'd like to say you start with the greens, go backwards. You know, greens and green surroundings are probably the most important. Figure out where to hit it, kind of work backwards from there. I'm not a huge left side of fairway, right side of fairway guy. I'm just a fairway guy. So that's a little bit easier to figure out. Obviously, what becomes difficult on a new golf course is if you see a few different winds during the week and the golf course plays very differently. You know, we've played, you know, Harbour Town, for example. We've played the golf course so many times and seen it in every wind direction that we kind of know, like, okay, in this wind we can do this, in this wind we have to do this. That's the trick when you go to a spot one time and you have to figure that out. And that's where you lean on a caddy as well. You can't do all the work yourself. It's just too long of a week, and you know, we just touched on that being Canadian Open. It's a little busier week anyways. But you know, it's an exciting part of it. Nobody's played it, which is the nice thing, right? We're all going into it fresh, and sometimes there's no scar tissue as well when you haven't played a golf course before. So there's no built up, God, I remember doing this, or I've done this before. It's all fresh. So it's really just about the current shot, and there's nothing bad. There's no good to pull from, but there's no bad to kind of think about either.
I know it was a long time ago, but can you compare the vibe and the atmosphere in 2010 compared to, you know, the circus we saw last year at St. George's?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to compare only because they had an extra 2 years of waiting for it with COVID. But, you know, I think that the sport itself has been elevated since my first Canadian Open. Obviously, RBC has done an incredible job of, you know, garnering some of the best players in the world and getting them up to Canada and creating that atmosphere, really. And so after 2 years of being away and finally getting a chance to go up there, it was as wild as I've ever seen a Canadian Open be. That rink hole was as loud as I've ever heard. And then you toss in a Rory, JT, Finau, Corey Connors mix going into Sunday. I mean, it was electric. It was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you at Oakdale.
Thanks, Jason.